everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Well, already I see a mistake I made. I put Sarah Inez, and it's not Inez, it's Ines. Sarah Ines and Jen Revere Fowles family story, but it should be stories, because everyone tells them stories today. First of all, there's Jen Revere and Sarah Ines. How many of you have never seen a picture of Jen Revere and Sarah Ines? Will you raise your hand? I need participation today. If you've never seen their picture, raise your hands. I know there's some. Yeah.
There's a bunch over here.
Thanks. Okay, let me get this straight. Grandma Fowles told me that they named Jen Revere when they were looking through a yearbook this is Grandma Dora, Jen's mother. They were looking through a yearbook to find names, and they chose them out of the yearbook. So that's where we got Jen Revere. There's no long romantic stories about Jen Revere. But how many in here know another Revere besides Jen? Yeah, I think there's one in every family. And I want you to know that Ines was always called Ines. In fact, when she was in school, she spelled it I-N-E-S because she got a little annoyed when she got called Inez. Did you know that? Because there's so many in this group that call her Inez because that's how it's spelled. We have another Inez in the group. Yeah, Sunday Inez. Hers is spelled with an S. But Mom was always called Ein or Ines. But the family, most of the family knew her as Aunt Ein. I-N-E, Aunt Ein. Got that? Okay. Now, if you ever looked in the mirror and wondered, where did these good looks come from? Can you see these pictures? Now you know. Jen and Ein were pretty good looking. Yeah. And the other picture is my grandma and grandpa, my dad's parents. Some of your great grandpa. Yeah, that is Dora and Joseph Henry Fowles. And you know, Joseph Henry, when they lived in Weber County, he was a representative for a term or two in the Utah representatives. Did you know that? Famous and important. Got that? Okay. Pretty good looking people. If you ever wonder, look in the mirror, wonder where you get those good looks. I'm showing this picture. Can you read the names at all? Can you spot Jen? This is his family. This was his childhood. Actually, he was a young adult at this point. And you know, his family always called him Jen. He was always known as Jen as a kid. But then when he got married, Mom loved the name of Revere. And And she started calling him Revere, especially when they moved to Oakley. And that was what he was known by there. Or some people called him J.R. Did you know Jen Revere graduated from the University of Utah? All you BYU fans just going to shake your head. And I want you to look at the classroom picture in the middle. This was a picture of him in a college class. Look at the attire, folks. Look what they wore to school in those days. Shirt and tie. And the guy in the middle actually has a microscope in front of him. They were obviously in biology or something in a classroom and had their picture taken. Can you believe that? Pretty dapper though, wasn't he? Pretty well dressed student. And this is Dad in a silly costume. Are those actually woolly chaps? They look like it. He must have had a sense of humor because who would wear, it must have been his costume party, because who would wear woolly chaps? And where did they get this decoration? Maybe it was a dance or something. Anyway, and there's Mom and Aunt Eula. Can you see Mom on the left? I's on the left, and Aunt Eula is on the right. And they're laughing. Mom had a great sense of humor. She could be so funny. And you know, she died at the age of 72, and the chapel was packed. You know, you don't see that many people in a company of, you don't see that many older people that have that large a funeral. And she worked at the grocery store, and she just was a friend to everybody. The pictures on the left are of her on her mission. And notice how well dressed she is. You know, she made most of her clothes. You know, that first picture I showed you, I forgot to show her clothes. Clothes were always important to Mom. In fact, she told me when we got married, now your husband needs to look good, and that's your job. Make sure his collars are ironed. You don't send him off without ironing his shirt. And never worry about picking up his socks off the floor. He's allowed to have his socks on the floor. That was her advice to me. So, anyway, I don't know if you remember that first picture I showed you. Mom was wearing a white dress. That was her high school graduation dress, and she made it. Many of you know what an expert seamstress she was. She made these two quilts. This one was the pink one over there. Take a look at it. It was a gift to Shirley and Steve when they got married. She made the one on the end of this table for Keith and I when we got married. And Luann and Bob got one with big roses on it. Does anybody know where that one is? Whose house? Great. I hope it's not worn out, but...
It's not. It's beautiful.
Okay, next reunion, you bring that, okay? I didn't think about it either. But every stitch in those quilts was done by hand. Each one of those flowers were stuffed with cotton and appliqued by hand. Every single stitch. Amazing, huh? Anyway, when Mom was at the University of Utah, she took a sewing class. She probably could have taught it, but in this sewing class, she made a dress out of brown velvet. I said, Mother, why did you make it out of brown velvet? She said, just trust me, it was a beautiful fabric. And it was trimmed with beige lace. And when the dress was finished, they displayed it in the store at CCMI. Do any of you know what CCMI was? The big store in Salt Lake City that had very nice stuff. So, and they put it at a price of $100. Can you imagine in the 1919, 1918, you know how much that would be? It'd be probably over 1,000 now, but she was very proud of that dress. I guess she evidently made it and then wore it out. I don't know. She did tell me though later that she made several other things out of it when it got started to get warm. I don't know what. I never did see the fabric. Anyway, I just showed you our dad's big family picture. This is the only one I could find of my mother's. Maybe you don't want to look in the mirror and say, do I look like those guys? They are fairly nice looking, but they're not young. This was an older picture. This is only part of her brothers and sisters. Antarctica on the left was a general authority for the church. She was a counselor for years to Sister Parmley, who was the primary president, the general primary president. She always had a picture in the Deseret News. And we all love Antarctica. And he was not in this picture because, and Uncle John, the Clarks from Oakley, because they were in a family feud with Uncle Parley. And that got pretty ugly. Uncle John decided to run against Uncle Parley for county commissioner. And then, after Uncle Parley had been in there for like 10 or 15 or something years, excuse me, and then Uncle John won. The shock of it all. And boy, there were hard feelings. I hope they're gone by now. This is a picture of Mom in the dress she made to be for her wedding day. And she and Dad rode the train from early to Salt Lake and got married. Their parents didn't go. I don't think their parents had recommends, but they didn't go to the temple with them. But they got married in the temple. I've always been really grateful for that. And then they went to Denver, where I think Dad went to the University of Denver. Is there such a place? Does anybody know?
Yes.
There is a University of Denver. He was studying medicine. He had graduated in science and he was studying medicine. And they were there for several years, and Shirley and Dick were born there. I'm sorry, Shirley and Jay were born there. And I love the picture on the left. You know, I think of Mom as being such a perfectionist, but look at Jay's picture where his hair all scruffy. That tickles me. It's kind of worry, but it's scruffy. And they love those kids. And you know, both of them were born with bright red hair. It's so frustrating that they didn't have color film in those days, you know? Then they had to leave Chicago, and you know, I had this experience with my mother in high school. I had to write an essay for English class my senior year, and I had this discussion with Mom on their history, and she told me, you know, that they had to leave Chicago, and they drove this old Ford car. Well, it wasn't old then, it was fairly new, but it had a little seat up in the back, and in the back seat. Was it Shirley that said she rode all that way in that back window, sleeping in that back little window of that little car? Anyway, Mom told me that it wasn't the depression that made Dad quit school. It was his health, that he was so sick he couldn't get to classes. And she said, actually, the depression had nothing to do with it, which made me wonder how they got along. I kind of think, you know, Grandpa Matthews was considered a rich rancher. He had some good money. In fact, you know, when Mom's mother died, when she was a teenager, she took care of Grandpa Matthews for quite a while, and he bought her, when she went to the University of Utah, a full-length mink coat. So Grandma was pretty well taken care of. I kind of wondered if Grandpa Matthews didn't help him through school, because Dad wanted so badly to be a doctor, and he had such faith in the medical system of the world that he followed his doctor's advice when he got a bad asthma attack. The doctor told him to smoke. And he believed that, so he smoked every time he had an asthma attack. He said, the doctor said, it'll cut that phlegm, it'll be good for you to get that phlegm out of there. So we've learned since that's, yes. No, they did not have VA benefits back then, because there was no such thing. It hadn't, you know, he was in World War I, but he was only in the war several months. He joined late, and then it was pretty much over. He was in Salt Lake being trained, and he got the flu when that big flu epidemic came along in those days, the 18-somethings, 15 or something, and he got the flu, and Grandma, his mother, told me that they were called and told to come and get his body because he had passed away from the flu. And when they got down there, he wasn't gone at all. That somebody had seen him move in the hospital, so they didn't cart him off to the morgue. Thank goodness, but that was his experience in the military. But you know, Uncle Jay and Uncle Dick and Uncle Harry were all in the military. And when Uncle Harry got out, he told Luann and I about the military veterans had a program that we could take advantage of. And we had to sign up as though we were veterans, but we went to school on that GI Bill that paid, it was $110 a month that we signed up for every month. And they made sure we were attending classes, and they went over our schedules and, in the fall, the beginning of each semester. But we got that money, and that put me through college and went for about 2 or 3 years. I can't remember what she went. But we got that GI Bill. Anyway, I was born in this house, as were Luann and Harrison. And this is famously called the Rock House. Guess why? Can you see why? Okay, here's another picture of Dad and Dick and Jay and Shirley and her baby doll. I love the little smiles on their face. But the reason I wanted to show this picture again is because if you look real close, Dad looks pretty darn pale. And you think of how sick he was. His whole adult life that he spent suffering with asthma. Okay. And there's the whole family on the right. Can you see Grandma's face at the top? You see how sad she is? This was taken just right about the time Dad died. And he had been in the hospital for several months, not doing well. He was in the Veterans Hospital in Salt Lake City, not doing very well. And she told me later that they kept trying to prepare her, and she kept thinking she was getting prepared for him to pass away. But she said when he did die, Uncle John came to the house, Uncle John Clark, and told Mom that he had received words. I guess we didn't have a telephone in those days. That he had received word that Dad had passed away, and she said, "You never prepared. You just never prepared."
Yeah, Jen, how long was he in the hospital? Like, what was that?
I'm sorry,
How
louder?
long was he in the hospital? Or how long was he on his deathbed?
Well, he died in July, and I think he went there either before Christmas or right after Christmas. And Uncle Jay told me at one point that he weighed like 89 pounds when he died. Yeah, we went to see him once, and I would have been 3. I died when he was 3.5, when I was 3.5. And we went to see him, and I remember this bed he was in, this hospital bed. He was that far above my head, so I couldn't see him, and I'm standing there, and the nurse comes in and moves me out of the way and says she's got some medicine to take. And I remember it was in what I thought were little sacrament cups, like we used to take the sacrament, little glass cups. And it was white, and I thought it was milk. And I said, "Mom, I need a drink." I was really thirsty like I am right now. Anyway, nobody would let me touch his medicine. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was magnesia or something. That would have been too good for me. Anyway. So we went to Oakley as a school teacher, teaching science, and he was reserved to that. He just dropped his plans to be a doctor. Can you see on the right his picture? We don't see that picture very often. I haven't taken it and made it separate. He looks a little bit haggard, doesn't he? this is the school building where he was the teacher and principal of the grade school. Usually the principal, and we taught the 8th grade. This is probably his 8th grade class. There he is at the far right. Can you see him? I don't know. They say he was nice. I hope he was a nice principal. This picture was taken in front of the old house, evidently before I was born, because Luann is wearing a cute little bonnet. I never had a bonnet. She always got the best clothes. And can you see Uncle Harry in the middle and Uncle Dick on the right-hand side, standing by Mom, and Aunt Shirley holding Aunt Luann. She and Aunt Luann had such a close relationship, which really annoyed me sometimes. Okay, now I'm going to talk about each of my siblings, tell you a little bit about their childhood, and that's as far as I'm going to go. I'm just going to talk something about their lives. Can you see this picture on the left? There is Uncle Jay. Picture this cute little confident redhead. Mom told me that when they were in Chicago, they had this Christmas party for their ward, and he stood up at the age of 4 and gave the whole, the night before Christmas, went all through the house. He said the whole thing all by himself. Can you imagine Jay doing that?
Yes.
He was a showman right from the beginning. There's a picture of him in his Army uniform. I remember he went into the Army right out of high school. He was 15 years older than and I remember him coming home, and I remember waking up in the morning and seeing his uniform hanging on the back of a chair, his Army jacket. And I remember when we were so excited that he was home. Look, he's a sharp dresser too on his mission. Of course, most missionaries are. Those are the days when they went into the tropics and wore suits. Anyway, he got an opportunity to sing, and I'm not sure how he found out how he could sing so well. Maybe just hearing him in church, I don't know. But he had the most beautiful tenor voice, and he had a radio program on Sunday nights where he would sing hymns and other religious songs, his own radio show in Brazil. So there's a picture of him. It looks so much like Jason, there's a name of that in the picture. You know, he went on to sing. Some of my sweetest memories of him singing in our living room, you know, with Lorraine. Well, first of all, it used to be Shirley playing the piano for him, and then when he got married to Lorraine, she would play for him. And he could sing anything. Some of the songs that I remember him singing were That Dear Old Mother of Mine, and some of these Irish songs. Danny knows some of them. Yeah, Turururururu. Then he met Lorraine. This is the best picture picture I have of Lorraine. I wish I had some others. She and I were good friends. She taught me piano lessons when she graduated from college at Logan. She came to Oakley and taught school there. I think she taught home ed, and then she also taught piano lessons, and I was able to take from her. But Aunt Shirley started me playing the piano before I started school. She started teaching me. Remember middle C, where you gotta find middle C. Anyway, that was and they were married, and you know, when you get married, you're supposed to just live happily ever after, right? Can you see those pictures? They're kind of blurry. The bottom picture is Mom, Grandma Fowles, and Grandma Ein, holding Jason. Jay's in the background, look like he might be pulling weeds or something. And Lorraine is standing by Shirley. I took this picture on a trip we took after I got out of high school. We went to Haley from Oakley and spent some time there. No, I spent the summer there. And I want you to know, where's Monica? Can you raise your hand, Monica? There you are, front row. She's in this, she's up there 3 times. See that sweet little baby that Margaret's holding, and Tammy's holding, and Lorraine is holding. That's Monica. Thanks for coming, Monica, today. Then there's Aunt Shirley. She was everybody's favorite. She was Grandma Dora's favorite. She was Grandpa Fowles' favorite. She was Aunt Eula's favorite. Everybody loved Aunt Shirley. And so did I. There she is with her mom and her dad again. Same picture of little J. This page is a page out of Mom's Book of Remembrance, where Shirley sent pictures from Hawaii. The very bottom left is her out in a pineapple field. She served in YEA, and she taught school there, taught school at the YEA, I don't know, I had a little church school there at the time. It was way, way before BYU time. And there's her with some missionary companions, her in a raincoat, and her with a little Japanese gal. You know, she and her husband, Steve, both served in that same mission. It was in Hawaii, but it was called Japanese mission, wasn't it? Hawaiian Japanese speaking mission. Yeah. What was that? Oh, Central Pacific. Yeah, Central Pacific mission. Yeah, the missions were big in those days. Do you know she also played in a band on her mission? The other missionaries, they had trumpets and whatnot. Did I skip a page?
Off the page.
I can't get it to go backwards. I had a picture of her in a wedding dress. I think you know this one. I'm sorry, I can't. Our computer malfunction, I can't make it go backwards. Anyway, Mom made her a beautiful lace and satin wedding dress. And she and Steve lived happily ever after with 10 children. How many here are related, are descendants of Steve and Shirley? Oh, look at you. Thank you for coming so far. Oh, I want to show you that picture on the far left. I took that picture. Eddie, Sunday, Jimmy, and Melanie. You see, all in that little wagon. That little red wagon we have. And at the top is a picture of Letitia and Sharon were there, some foster kids that they raised, and Eddie, Sunday. Looks like Sharon is holding Melanie. Oh, and there's Jimmy right out in front of his mom. Is that cute? And then there's Grandma Dora, Grandma Fowles, and my mom, your grandma, mine, standing behind Sunday, giving her a big hug, sort of. Then we come to Richard Matthews Fowles. Everybody adored Richard Matthews Fowles. We don't adore him today. He was born with bright red hair, just like Shirley. Jay's was red, but it was a little more auburn. These two were born with bright red hair. We have two redheads, Danny and Angie, but they're not quite as red these days. Uncle Jay's turned brown when he was in his 40s too. Uncle Dick's turned pure white. This is a picture of Uncle Dick and me being the laid-back child that didn't get ruffled too much. And Luann is right behind me having a fit. Can you see her? She was probably feeling really squished being in the middle of between the two of us. But she thankfully made herself seen there. This is Uncle Dick on the left, and he's got me in front of him. Grandma Ian, and Luann. Uncle Harry, he's playing with the dog, and Uncle Jay. I don't know where Dick and Shirley were. But I love that picture. I look at these pictures and I think of how kind Uncle Dick always was to me. He always treated me so gently. And you know, being the youngest of 6 kids, I was very used to being told what to do and when to do it and how to do it. Sometimes kind of curtly, not always sweetly. Anyway, here's me and Uncle Dick and Luann on the left and I'm on the right. And then you see Buff, Uncle Dick, and Buff, Uncle Harry on the right. Teenagers. This was about the age when, in first grade, I decided to run away from home. And I was so angry. You know, me, the mellow, laid back, never gets upset person. Yeah, that was me. It was in the evening, and Uncle Dick was in a school play in high school. And he was there performing, and Mom was there watching, and Uncle Jay had taken Mom to see this play. And Luann and Shirley were having this special little time together, just chatting like old friends. I'm 6, she's what, 7 or 8, and Shirley was, ready to go on a mission. Anyway, it was my turn to do the dishes, and they had left the dishes for me. So I said, "Can you help me?" And the man said, "No, we have other things to do." And Shirley said, "Sorry, well, we can help you later." Well, I went outside and I climbed up in a tree, climbed up in the old neighborhood tree, and I stayed there for hours. It was dark outside and my feet got numb and my hands got numb and I didn't move. I saw them come out and call my name, and I stood there very quietly. I'll show them. They can do the dishes. Right? Anyway, next thing I know, here comes Mom and Jay home. Oh, they shouldn't be home already. Well, of course, they had been paged and sent home because their little sister was missing. Mom was in a panic and Jay was in a panic. And when I saw them come home, when I saw the car pull up, I climbed out of the tree. Numb, I was totally numb all over. I could barely get out of the tree. And I walked in the house and boy, was I in trouble. Anyway, I confessed what I had done and got grounded for a month. I couldn't go outside of it. It was funny, that's one of my stories. Sorry. You're hearing this all from my perspective. I'm the only one left who's going to argue with me. So, Oakley Man gets his orders for LDS mission in Brazil. That was in the newspaper. And the other pictures, while he was in Brazil, he was asked to sing in a singing group. And this is what happened. This BYU basketball team, about 60 of them, came to Brazil to do a basketball tour. And they put up the flag, the Brazilian flag and the American flag before every game. And then during the halftime and before the game, this group of missionaries, 8 of them, would sing. They sang the U.S. national anthem, and they sang the Brazilian national anthem. I've got this face circled in red. Can you see where he is? This is the group. It's just out of the newspaper. There was a very big article in a Brazilian newspaper. It's huge. I still got it. I had to bring it today, and I came off and forgot it about this tour. They were there for like a month, played all of these different basketball teams, and the BYU team had Mormons written across the front of it, and the article was saying what a good public relations experience that was for everybody. But in the meantime, these 8 elders that sang together were asked to do a radio show, so they got on the radio too, just like Uncle Jimmy did, on a weekly basis. And there's Shirley Fair, engaged to Richard Fowles, and before, after he'd been drafted, but just before he was sent to Germany. And in the obituary, it said he went to Germany during the Korean War, and that was about the time that he was in Germany, kind of just helping get things settled back down in Germany. But, the funny thing, Shirley and I were talking about him never getting his picture taken as a soldier. He just never did. So it goes to show that I don't have a picture of them at their wedding either. So, but we're grateful for the pictures we do have. The picture over here out of the newspaper, well, the one on the right is where he's receiving an award for his playing and leading his baseball team to victory in Germany. His company baseball team. You're getting bored, I can tell. They had 2 children, Ricky and Timothy. And these are the only pictures I have of them. I'm so grateful for this family. Oh, shoot. Well, I skipped past 2, and it still won't go backwards. So, I showed Uncle Harry's picture, now it's Uncle Harry's turn. This is Uncle Harry. We never ever called him Harry. We always called him Harrison. He was Harrison. It's kind of like calling Harrison Ford Harry. You just don't. And we didn't call Harry till after he got married, and then Lita started calling him Harry, and he liked it. So the rest of us did too. He went on a mission to Northern California, and Mom was so worried because he had a tendency to have asthma, and she was worried about that climate on him. But he flourished there. He never had a problem with the climate. And this telegram thing he's got is from a member. Can I read it? It says, to Mr. and Mrs. Fowles. Well, Mr. Fowles was long gone, but he said, I want to thank you, the parents of a young man who has given so much of himself. Your son brought the joy of life that mortals of the world still search. I would still be searching were it not for him on his mission. My mother and I thank you for our baptism into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Signed, Dr. Lauren C. Moore. I thought Uncle Harry later went inactive in the church, but he was a great missionary.
And then where did he serve again?
Northern California. He was in San Jose and in that area. Okay, this is a picture of Harry and Leela on their wedding. They got married about 6 months after Mom died in 1966. And I don't know why they waited so long. They were engaged for a long time. And Mom made her wedding dress I remember Keith and I were at summer school at BYU, and she and I and little Todd, who was just a toddler, drove to Oakley from Provo and spent a couple of weeks there while Mom made that dress. There's a picture of Jay and I with them at the wedding reception that our Aunt Eula put on for him. Always thought that was so gracious of Aunt Eula. Okay, gonna move right along. This is the only picture I have of their whole family. Can you see Jerry Leah in front in her little bonnet? She had brain cancer since the time she was 6. And she died when she was, 8 or 9. And then Niall is on the left, standing by Leela. He was killed in a tragic car accident with a bunch of teenagers up in the mountains over by Brown, Utah, somewhere. And then there's Uncle Harry and Eric, and my Eric is Perry. And this is the picture in front of the band is when we had a reunion over in Roosevelt at Uncle Harry's house. And the one on the right is Eric and his first wife. It's probably good he's not here today. He wouldn't want me showing his first wife. And then the second one is Perry and his first wife. So, here we go, Aunt Luann. Beautiful Aunt Luann. The picture on the right is her playing with the family cat. And on the left, you can see her as a cheerleader. Wow, she can really jump. Here's that same picture with her bonnet and the cute little dress. Must have been Sunday. This is a picture of our primary class, and I labeled Luann and I. It was taken on the front steps of our church building that had very big steps, and a long sidewalk out to the car. This next picture is taken about the time that our dad died. I'm in front, me and Luann. I'm the little one standing in front of Mom. Luann is standing in front of Shirley, of course. She and Shirley were tight. Grandma Fowles, Grandma Dorcas in the middle. And on the back side is one of our Fowles cousins from California, and our Uncle Joe is standing behind Shirley, and Grandpa Matthews is standing between Mom and Grandma Fowles. This was taken at the Rock House. I'm sure it was the week that Dad died because Uncle Joe was there. Uncle Joe was the heavy-set man in the back. You know, he always had a big cigar in his mouth. And I remember this was taken because he and his son, he had 6 sons, and I'm not sure which one that was with him, but they came up for Dad's funeral. And I remember taking a ride in an old Ford Model T that one of our neighbors had, and this cousin and his dad, Uncle Joe, were in the car with us, and I sat on Uncle Joe's lap. And I remember what a hard time he had breathing. He evidently had some kind of a lung disease like Dad did. And actually, he died 3 months after Dad died. So, picture brings me such memories of Dad's funeral. You know, I'm 3 years old, but I remember them bringing his body into the house, the old rock house. It was in the living room by the fireplace. And I remember all these people standing around and, you know, visiting with Mom. And I remember I couldn't see him because the casket was up high, too high for me. So I asked Mom to hold me up, and Mom picked me up so I could see him. And for some reason, you know how 3-year-olds can be unreasonable, I said, I need to see his feet. Where are his feet? And so my Uncle Brian Matthews was there, and he was a mortician, and Mom said to him, he was standing right there, Mom said, can you lift that part up and let her see his feet? And he said, she doesn't need to see his feet, they're there. Tell her they're there. And Mom said, just do it. And so he did, and I remember feeling very satisfied knowing that he was all in one piece. I don't know what else I might have been thinking that he wasn't there, but I do remember that sweet moment. And then I remember turning to Mom and saying, why are you crying? You know, I just didn't understand. And then I just found out from Aunt Shirley Sherwood, that during the funeral, Aunt Luann and I got goofing around and giggling and had to be taken out by Aunt Eula. So, there's that story. Anyway, I got the little dress that I wore to the funeral. I've kept it all these years. I remember wearing it. I had I wore it a lot. I noticed there's no hem in it whatsoever. It's turned up about 1/8 of an inch. But Mom used to always take the hems out and add more. I called it my kitty dress because there were little feathers across the shoulders there. In Uncle Harry's section, I had a picture of me and him in a red wagon. And this is the dress I wore. We were in a parade. And the computer skipped it and I can't get it to go back. But we were in that little famous red wagon. And I wore this, and there was a look on the red wagon was all decorated in yellow crepe paper. And it had a sign on it, come to the 24th of July dance. There were always dances in Oakley. Anyway, my time is pretty well gone. Keep moving on here.